day. If I can get you to settle down, good, good. Complete silence is required in order for the program to commence. I still hear some chatter in that corner over there. Our culture chapel is packed with fun and informative presentations. You will want to put away any device which may distract you from paying complete attention. Please note you are being monitored for acceptable behavior. Non-compliance is frowned upon. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have been designated as your host. Let me introduce myself. I'm AIR, Artificial Intelligence Robot, but you may call me Mr. Roboto. Here is a rundown of the audio-visual briefings for this morning. May it greatly expand your knowledge.
Kamusta? Right now, I am wearing our traditional costume, which is a Filipiniana. It traditionally represents an ideal woman, which is beautiful, conservative, and adherent to the prevailing Catholic values. Today, the Filipiniana is worn during folk dances and theatrical performances, and occasionally chosen as a political or bridal attire. So the Philippines has 8 major dialects. The Cebuano dialect originated in Cebu, which is in Visayas. However, it spread to neighboring islands and in northern and eastern parts of Mindanao. This was probably facilitated by the American and Spanish policies to Christianize Mindanao. Meanwhile, the Tagalog and Bicol dialect, which is my dialect, boundaries seem to remain predominantly they were centuries ago. The language being taught all over the Philippines is Tagalog and English. Coming to our cuisine, I think the most famous dish that we have is the chicken adobo. It is popular and known and loved by everyone. It is also one of the best examples of how the country is such a rich melting pot of different historical influences. At its true essence, adobo is a protein that is braised in vinegar then mixed with other herbs and spices. The Spanish were the first ones who named this dish. Adobo comes from the Spanish verb adobar, which means to marinate. So upon the arrival of the Spanish community, they noticed that the locals were using vinegar and salt to marinate their chicken, pork, and fish. They embellished this by adding ingredients they brought with them like garlic and onions. Over time, the salt was replaced with an ingredient introduced by the Chinese, which is soy sauce, and other ingredients common in the Philippines were also added like bay leaves and peppercorns. Another dish that I would like to share with you guys is an exotic dish which is called balot. It is a developing duck embryo boiled and eaten as a snack in the shell. It is often served with a splash of vinegar. This is definitely one of the most famous foods to try in the Philippines and certainly the strangest that you can ever try. It is a very popular street food which is originated in the Philippines. So yeah, those were just little small details about the Philippines, a little background that I shared with you guys. but if you actually come over, you could discover more interesting facts about the Philippines, and I hope that you actually get to try them. What tourists often say, it is always more fun in the Philippines.
Hi guys, my name is Hansol and I'm from South Korea. Since today is Cultural Day, I'm gonna share some of my country's cultural things. It's gonna be very simple and not incredible, but I hope you guys enjoy. This is my sister and she volunteered to help me. This is Korean traditional clothes called hanbok and two-piece dress worn for formal or semi-formal traditional occasions and events such as festivals, celebrations, and ceremonies. Hanbok literally means Korean clothing. This upper clothes called jogori and basic upper garment of the hanbok. And this is called shima. Shima refers skirt. There is underskirt called sokchima, and this is white color. Yeah. Thank you. And this is one of the most famous food in Korea. Most importantly, this is my favorite food. We put rice cake, vegetables, and Korean traditional spicy sauce called gochujang and boil it. It's all. Yummy. I guess most of the people who heard about Korea know only Seoul among the cities. But today, I want to introduce my place, Busan, now officially Busan Metropolitan City. It is South Korea's second most populous city after Seoul. To show what kind of city it is, I've got a more interesting video for you guys.
쪽에 해운구마 평산청어 군수 해구 현가몽어 조구장 조기 구별나 지장대들 장다리가 우리 좌우나졸 근근모조리 상어술 치는 치준치 멸치 삼치 가재 개구리까지 영을 듣고 어전에 입시하여 대왕극의 절은 대대사 성두봉 방평사 조개 해우고마 평산청어 군수 해구 현가몽어 조구장 조기 구별나 지상대승 대청다리가 우리 좌구나졸 근근모조리 상어술 치는 치준치멸 삼치 가재 개구리까지 영을 듣고 어전에 입시하여 대왕극의 절은
Actually, I felt Hong Kong's Sabbath and Korea's Sabbath is pretty similar. But in Korea, for afternoon program, senior groups usually do absent people visitation and extra Bible study. Of course, youth group does Bible study, but in my church, it's more like debate. And depends on the weather and the seasons, we hang out, go to nature, and feel everything what God gave us, And sometimes we do volunteer activities together, like cleaning the town, like picking garbages, and sometimes we do briquette carrying service. We do briquette carrying service especially in winter time, so we can bring briquettes to people who live in cold towns so they can get over the cold season very well. I think we try our best to help our neighborhood. Yes, this is our Sabbath in Korea. Okay, so it was my short presentation, and I really hope to see you guys in Korea so I can guide everywhere you guys want. And also, I really hope to see you guys in the campus as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and bye bye. See you.
Hello, my name is Alexander Zubkov-Pavlovich and welcome to Russia. The thermometer is showing below 0 degrees, so I'll put on my шапку ушанка. This is what a typical street in Russia looks like. We have many lakes in Russia, and as you can see, they are already frozen. My town Zoksky is known for a lot of mud, especially during autumn. Now we're gonna try to make our way to the forest. So follow me. Oh my. To many foreigners, Russia may seem like a grey country. But let me tell you that it's just the climate that makes everything grey. These clouds, they never leave the whole winter. Sun may appear just once or twice a month. One of the most common sports in Russia is street workout. People just love to use the pull-up bars. And we're also actually taught in school how to pull up and push up. So we really love this stuff. And even the kids do this, you know. This is Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. His monuments are found all over the country. He's famous because he brought communism to Russia. He was the head of the Socialist Party. You can see people still bring him flowers, and he's treated with wide respect. How long have you been in Russia so far?
I have been here almost 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Yeah, so where do you like it more?
Actually, I prefer here.
Oh wow, that's nice to hear.
It's because, for example, in Brazil, sometimes I have to take 3 showers a day.
Do you like the weather here or no?
Not really, it's like kind of cold.
Well, compared to me, like, you're not wearing anything at all. Is there a reason for that?
8 years, 8 years.
Yeah, if you're 8 years in Russia, you won't need clothes. In Russia, we have a lot of milk products. This is kefir. This is one of my favorite ones. This is rязанка. You never know until you try it. This is tvorog, which is cottage cheese. We eat it for breakfast all the time. We eat a lot of it. Bread comes with every meal we eat in Russia. Without having bread, we will not feel full. You see all of these chocolate bars? Most of them are under 10 Hong Kong dollars. And most of them are very delicious. I'll take this one. This is one of the main areas we visit almost every day. Actually, we don't. I'm now at the train station in Russia. Most of our traveling we do by trains. In order for me to get to Moscow, it's gonna take me about 2 hours and 40 Hong Kong dollars. И как тебе это нравится?
Ну такое себе.
Такое себе.
Дороги говно получится.
И ты когда-то был за границей?
Да. Я практически каждый год на протяжении 7 лет ездил в Турцию и там отдыхали с семьей.
So this was a little preview of what Russia is like. I hope you enjoyed and found a little more about Russia.
Hi everyone, Bjorn Karlman here, joining you for Culture Day from Stockholm, Sweden. I'd like to thank my longtime friend, Zuriel, for the chance to connect with you virtually. I would have loved to have joined you for Culture Day in person, as I spent several years at Hong Kong Adventist College, which is where I met Zuriel, and I miss so many of my friends there, especially the Chua family and the Leungs. But since the COVID-19 pandemic means we have to share this moment at a distance, I wanted to talk about a worldview that can hopefully draw us closer despite the physical kilometers or miles that separate us. What I'm talking about is a worldview that welcomes diversity, an international outlook that gives others the benefit of the doubt, a view of other cultures that seeks to learn instead of expecting everyone to be just like us. But first, let me tell you a little bit about my story. I'm originally Swedish, but left Sweden when I was 6 weeks old. I spent most of my childhood years in Asia, actually. My dad was a professor at Hong Kong Adventist College for over 5 years, and then we moved over to the Philippines during my childhood, where we lived for another 5 years before moving back to Europe, where I spent most of my teenage years. After that, I went to college in the United States, and that is where I met, after college, I met and married an amazing woman, Jamie, who incidentally is Asian American. After only a year of marriage, we decided to quit our jobs in Northern California and do a year of travel and volunteering around the world. We lived in Bangkok, Thailand, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Berlin, Germany. Basically, it was the B tour of the world, as we called it, because all the cities that we lived in started with B, basically. Well, after this crazy year of travel around the world, we decided we didn't want to go back to our boring jobs in Northern California, so we started an online publishing business and just kept traveling. So we were digital nomads, basically. And we have never stopped traveling. Over the last 8 years, we've kept going. We lived in Asia, Europe, Africa, North and South America. Our 5-year-old daughter, Journey, was born in Bangkok, Thailand, and she loves travel even more than we do. You've probably heard the term third culture kid, TCK for short. It references people that grew up the way I did. Wikipedia defines TCKs as individuals raised in one culture other than their parents or the country of their nationality or identity. So basically, they've grown up somewhere that their parents are not from. TCKs live in an environment that is TCKs live in this environment during a significant part of their childhood development. Examples of TCKs are expats, the kids of expats working at multinational companies, also missionary kids, diplomats' kids, you see what I mean, that kind of thing. So kids of parents that are traveling or are stationed abroad. Now, when you grow up in a culture different from that of your parents or your home country, a lot of things happen. Some people get really weirded out about these things, and they find that their childhood allows them to think differently about things, but also not completely identify with any one culture. Now, you could take a negative view of this, a glass half empty view, and decide that, oh, this is depressing, I don't feel like I understand anyone or anyone understands me, I'm a cultural outcast, I don't fit in. That's one way to live as a TCK, as a third culture kid. I, however, think this is a very limiting outlook. I think that a TCK upbringing can be beautiful, and I would encourage TCKs to instead of being sad or feeling alienated, to be extremely grateful for the advantages of an international upbringing. For example, while it is absolutely true that you don't completely identify with one culture, it is typically very easy for TCKs to adapt to new cultures, to enjoy them, and to feel at home very quickly in a new country, a new culture, a new setting. If you have a close-up experience of several cultures, you're also much more able to be flexible and less judgmental. You learn that there are many different ways of doing things and looking at the world. You are less likely to think of cultures as being better or worse than another. Cultural differences are just that, something different, not an indicator of superiority or inferiority. Another closely related reality about being a TCK is that because you learn from living in different cultures and countries, you know that there are ways of doing things that are completely different but equally valid. You are less likely to insist that you are doing something the only way that's right. With this mindset, it's more possible to see the beauty and the reason in other cultures. You learn to give others the benefit of the doubt. Now, this is especially helpful nowadays when it feels like societies all over the world are more divided than ever. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. People of different political or cultural persuasions demonize others that don't think the way they do. Rather than being open to learning from each other and talking out differences, often the approach nowadays is to claim the other side as ignorant, bigoted, or worse. The recent US election is an example of this. The country is more polarized than ever. Differences in political ideology have turned into deadly violence, and a deep sense of mistrust and suspicion, fueled by crazy-eyed conspiracy theorists, is growing the rage. The country is very much at a boiling point as powerful interests point fingers, refuse to reason, and believe the worst about each other. If people assumed less and listened more, if they were more willing to give the other side the benefit of the doubt, the US and every other society would be in significantly better shape. So far, I've talked about the benefits of growing up as a TCK and how this background can help expand your mind. I love diverse settings, but you know what? I'd be lying to claim that I have navigated multicultural situations flawlessly in my life. Sometimes I really mess things up. Take, for example, the early days of my dating relationship with my future wife, Jamie. I remember once we went out to eat and we ordered a number of dishes at it was a really cool restaurant. Now, when the dishes arrived, they looked great, and I chose the dish that I thought was mine, and I started eating. And I went about my eating in a very Swedish way, and in that I focused on this one dish, and I ate the whole dish myself. I didn't share. And Jamie, my girlfriend at the time, was so upset. "Hey," she said, "we were supposed to share that." Jamie was viewing our restaurant experience through Asian family-style eating lenses, and she wanted us to share the dishes so we each got a taste of everything that was ordered. She couldn't believe that I'd been so rude that I just put away the whole dish by myself. It was kind of an awkward date. I hadn't meant badly. I had just done what was normal in my culture, in that I ate the meal on my plate. Luckily, Jamie forgave me, and now we laugh about that date and the culture clash that we so vividly experienced. Looking back, I'm really glad I had the experience for a number of reasons. Not only did it remind me to be more mindful of cultural differences, but it helped me get comfortable with the fact that Well, it helped me get comfortable in the fact that there are fun ways to enjoy a meal that are different from what I grew up with. And now I can go out with family and friends and order a whole range of dishes and get a little bit of everything, and I feel totally comfortable with that. It's like second nature to go family style at a restaurant. My exposure to another culture helped me be more flexible, and in this case, I could enjoy my dining more. It taught me to approach something as fundamental as etiquette at the dining table in an open-minded way, and the result was great. I had more fun. It was better the new way. Deliberate exposure to other cultures can change us for the better. It doesn't require growing up as a TCK. It can come through making friends with someone in college. It can come through international travel when the COVID restrictions lift finally, hopefully, fingers crossed. If you're stuck indoors for some reason, this kind of exposure can come through reading or through YouTube. But I challenge you to think about where you might have prejudices about other people or cultures. And then instead of judging others, try to understand them better. Charlie Munger is 96 years old. He's the right-hand man of Warren Buffett, the ultra-wealthy American investor who has been around for years and years and is famous among those that follow the business world. Munger, who himself is extremely successful, has some very wise words for us. He says, "I never allow myself to have an opinion on anything when I don't know the other side's argument better than they do." Let's read that again. I never allow myself to have an opinion on anything when I don't know the other side's argument better than they do. That's great counsel. If we take the time to understand others, especially in sensitive cultural situations where there could be serious disagreement and misunderstanding, things will go so much more smoothly. If we can take Munger's advice and grasp the cultural practices and ideas of others better than even they do themselves, amazing things can happen. Worst case scenario, we will be better informed and better equipped to make decisions. But another outcome could be something even more desirable: understanding and respect. Maybe we can learn, like I did on dates with Jamie, that the other party has something amazing to bring to the table. If we resist the desire to dismiss and demonize the other side, there's at least a chance that we can enjoy greater harmony and even happiness in a highly imperfect world. Solomon, the wisest man to have ever lived, said multiple times in the book of Proverbs that, quote, "In the multitude of counselors, there is safety," close quote. As we reflect on these wise words on Culture Day, let's apply this thought in a multicultural sense and acknowledge the beauty of seeing the world not just through our eyes, but through a multitude of cultural lenses. Let's do all we can to celebrate the diversity around us. Let us grow in understanding. Let's be part of the solution as we promote harmony and understanding in our communities.
My name is Hugo, and my Chinese name is Chen Gi. It's very simple, it's only 2 words. My major in Andrews University is biology, and I also have a minor in chemistry. I am a junior this year, and I cannot wait to get graduated. I'm hoping I can become a medical doctor in the future, and this is the reason why I study in biology and chemistry. The biggest challenge I had was getting used to the environment, the food, the weather, making new friends, and creating a new study pattern. Three things that is culturally different for me. First is food. Second is the way how people greet each other and pace of life. Because you know Hong Kong is everything is timed and people rushing. The experience I had really widened my view of world. And I think it is very interesting to learn new knowledge from where it was actually founded. The disadvantage for me was the language barrier and cultural shock, which brings you anxiety and frustrations. I think it would be best to talk to your friends and supervisor about how you feel. I know stepping out of your comfort zone is very hard, but once you get used to it, you will start to appreciate the culture and actually enjoy it. I will certainly recommend you to study abroad because I think that's a great opportunity to learn new stuffs and meet new friends around the world. Be confident, because I know a lot of Hong Kong students are a little bit too shy to ask questions. You don't have to worry about if you are asking a stupid question or a good one. No, just ask the question. It's not a big deal. It's very simple. It's to embrace the new experiences and keep an open mind. And that's all for today.
Hello, my name is Sheryna and I'm from Sabah. Sabah is part of Malaysia, which is at the east side. It is also known as the Borneo Island. From the map, as you can see, it is located at the northern part of the island, somewhere here. Let me take you there. Sabah, or its surroundings, has pretty awesome islands to discover. There are almost 394 islands in the territory, and you can always hop from one island to another. Might take some time to hop to all 394 islands, but it's not impossible. People from Sabah are generally called Sabahans, and we have around 42 ethnic groups with their own language, culture, and beliefs. We also have Mount Kinabalu, which is the easier version of Mount Everest, from my point of view. The name Kinabalu originates from two Dusun words, Ki and Nabalu, announcing the presence of a mountain. This mountain is sacred to some ethnic groups. They believe that this mountain provides food and resources. Though I have not conquered neither, but both mountains will be in my bucket list to do. Sabah, being a diverse state, we have different types of food, from street food all the way to traditional food at home. Food stalls are almost everywhere. You will definitely see one even on a long distance road trip. And those are some of the culture highlights of where I'm from. Let's go back to where I'm actually at right now. I studied in HKAC before. It was about a year ago I graduated from there in Bachelor of Science in Health and Fitness.
Hong Kong Adventist College was my first experience studying abroad and also leaving my own country for the first time. And when I first came here in the year of 2015, I didn't know what to expect or how things would be like here in Hong Kong. So I did experience some culture shock.
The first shock I had was everything here is so fast. Back home, I would take my sweet time to start my day. Here, every second counts.
My second shock was the language. I thought that people are angry every time they speak to each other in Cantonese.
喂，咁啱啊！喂，好耐冇見喎，食咗飯未啊？食咗啦。
But then later on, I figured that the language has 9 different tones or even more. That makes me think that people, when they speak, they sounded like they're angry, but they're actually just having a normal conversation.
Hey, long time no see. Did you have lunch?
I finished my lunch already.
So how did I adapt to all this? Well, first, with the speed abilities, I observed how people work here, how they do their tasks, and eventually I got this speed. Not really. And how I was able to understand how people communicate here is by simply learning the language.
I have been living in Hong Kong for almost 5 years now, and I can pretty much say I have adapted to the culture. Though it was quite a challenge to adapt when you have your own culture. It feels foreign experiencing things for the first time. But every now and then, I still get to celebrate my culture by staying in touch with friends and families back home. And in my college days, we had a Malaysian community to connect with each other and celebrate our culture. In my work experience now, meeting new people and sharing them about my culture is another way I could still celebrate it.
I think that Hong Kong has its own unique culture, and it's always nice to learn and experience new things as we move on in life. Adaptation to a culture sometimes can be challenging, especially when you don't know what to expect or your own culture is firmly rooted in you. But from my Hong Kong experience, embracing and adapting to the culture, it is possible and results in great experiences. You can still learn and adapt to a culture even though you have your own culture, because there are always so many ways to celebrate your own culture wherever you are. With that said, adapting and embracing a different culture is one way of learning too. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.